I'm Jay Horton. I make movies that make money, and this is Filmmakers On. Today, I'm talking with the owner of Deep Sea Digital, a distribution company, John Kim.
Hey Jay, how you been, man? It's been a while.
Yeah, man, it's been a long time. The last time we talked, I introduced you incorrectly as a sales agent. I think I even titled it, like a distribution advice from a sales agent. Let's clear that whole mess up.
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, I don't ever like getting caught up with all of the terms and with all these acronyms because that's just a way of confusing people, and confusion is a way you can actually hustle people, right? So when you first asked me about like sales agent, distributor, I didn't even like care, and then also I just realized now that like sales agent is actually in my mind problematic because they don't own the direct relationships like I do have. So when you work with a sales agent, my understanding is that you're getting double dip, so you're paying two commissions.
Mhm.
So I definitely am not a sales agent. I'm direct, but I sell. That's all I do is sell. So that's the way with the confusion part on my end.
It's been a little, almost, geez, year and a half since we talked.
Crazy.
Um, what kind of newer trends have you seen in distribution over the last year?
It's amazing how things are just changing so rapidly. I think the headlines everyone's seeing it is SVOD, the never-ending growth party, is now concluded, and now it's all about profitability. TVOD, a year ago was dying on the vine, and I mean it's even if it's hard for Avengers, it's going to be hard for everybody else down the line. AVOD, now everyone's acting like an expert on AVOD because they read it in Variety magazine. I mean,
Yep.
I've been, in this business for 25 years total. But when I started my business, 6 years ago, I was able to, get in there and get all those relationships before everybody, because everybody, myself included, when I was at Paramount, was, crapping on AVOD. So AVOD is now out of the closet and officially recognized now as a legit, not bottom of the barrel, end of life cycle avenue for the last come and get it. Now it's actually for indie filmmakers. It really is the primary way you're gonna monetize your movies.
So have you seen, like, in the last maybe 6 months, I was pretty much pretty much done with TVOD on my titles, but I've personally on my smaller library, I've seen a little bit of an uptick in TVOD sales, like on small movies, like we're talking like 99 cent TVOD sales. And I interviewed a filmmaker recently, and again, this is just one example, so I know it's not indicative of the entire industry, but they did a little $30,000 like golf movie, and they made like 100 grand in their first quarter off of TVOD.
Yeah, for sure. Again, there's always headlines and generalities, and then
Right,
there's always exceptions. So
right.
what I've seen is in my portfolio, I have about 700 titles, and I was surprised because when I first took them on, I didn't expect the success. I mean,
Mm.
I had a couple the exceptions that pop. What I've seen are some of these faith-based
Hmm.
movies, and you I could have bet my house, and I wouldn't expect the couple hundreds of thousands of dollars in TVOD sales. I mean, they're outperforming bigger theatrical box office
Yep.
and much bigger name star power. But that core audience, they know that this is the only way that they can get this content, and because of the repeat viewing,
Mm.
they don't want the ad, so they want to own it. So that has been a very nice surprise to see, a couple faith-based movies. That's the ownership. I mean, that gets to the level of a Disney title, of a family title, where you're going to watch it multiple times, so you may as well own it.
Hmm.
But yeah, the rest of TVOD is I mean, for the normal non-star power drama indie, was just I'd go straight to AVOD.
Yeah.
It's no one they know that they already have access to, between all of the services they have. I mean, they have access to literally 60,000 movies plus.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
they, via Disney and Netflix, and now that they're recognizing that there's this whole AVOD, area that they didn't know about, pre-pandemic,
Hmm.
they really have like literally here in the US 50,000. So it better be pretty special, unique to break through that clutter. And then back to what you were asking about latest trend. The other trend is YouTube. You know,
Yeah.
I created my own channel since we spoke, and
Really?
already gotten I get 200,000 views a day and 300,000 subscribers.
Wow.
320, and it's 200,000 views, 500 new subscribers a day, and just like AVOD was for me 6 years ago, when I was laughing about it and like, why am I taking this meeting?
Hmm.
And YouTube is just a bunch of cat videos. I started my channel, and now my channel produces more revenue for my clients than most of the platforms you read about. Very, very pleasant surprise. And so same scenario when I was crapping on it and everyone was crapping on it. I got in there and yinged when everyone was yanging or zinging and where everyone was
Right.
zanging or whatever.
I got you.
2.2 billion people versus, primarily US based,
Yeah.
primarily, yeah, and they have pick of the litter, like I was just saying. Whereas, in the rest of the world, you know, when it is cat videos, all of a sudden, an indie film looks like an Academy Award film. It's all a point of relativity and comparison
Yeah.
is what the lesson learned for me.
Yeah, I've been hearing from a couple of distributors talking really strongly about YouTube, and I know just from my own small library, I'm starting to see really good returns on YouTube. Have you found that like YouTube seems to be like it's really good for specific types of movies and not so much for others? Like at least in my experience, I've had a little bit of trouble with horror movies. They get that 18 plus rating sometimes, or if
Right.
there's
So,
nudity or something.
right. This is why I like YouTube so much. It's just part of my portfolio.
Mm,
That because it's more adapted across the world, like I'll have a title that can literally perform millions of dollars in AVOD, and then do nothing on YouTube simply because those ad ratings, and it's not acceptable to advertisers, and that's the kiss of death because then you can't monetize.
yeah.
But the pleasant surprise that I'm finding is that my audience is 70% worldwide, international, and like
Mm.
50% female.
Wait, what was the female percent? I'm sorry.
50% female.
Oh, that's great. Okay.
Yeah, so like the dramas, the family oriented titles that typically don't perform in the early adopter categories,
Hmm.
like AVOD, which is now expanding, but it was early adopters. We want the horrors, we want the action and the more male sophomore comedy stuff.
Hmm.
You know, it's all additive. So there's no interaction or cannibalization between that platform. So that's
Right.
that's why I'm being now seen as an end platform for many other distributors, because like, I'm making good money that is not taking away any business from, the traditional AVOD platforms, because it's a different audience. It's international and it's women based. So
Right.
drama, family oriented title that might not perform with no stars, I could make literally $5-10, here in the US but they can make thousands of dollars on my platform, which was all additive and very nice as a portfolio manager.
That's crazy. And you really just started digging into the YouTube thing like in the last year and a half?
Yeah, since we talked, and
Yeah.
it's
So like I would assume you had kind of a low subscriber count year and a half ago, and you kind of did
well,
200,000 in a year.
no, I have 300,000 subscribers,
Right. Right.
320,000, but I was getting from the get go. I mean, again, because I have really strong titles that are
Hmm.
made available in comparison. Tim Allen, Sigourney Weaver, high star.
Right.
So, without any advertising or anything, I was getting 200,000 views a day,
That's crazy.
and then 500 subscribers a day. So, and right from the get go. So, I mean, it's just explosive growth. And then, once you get on those YouTube algorithms,
Yep.
you're accessing 2.2 billion. I mean, that's 2.2 or 2.6, whatever. But regardless, it's phenomenal. But again, the nice thing is that it's all additive and it's not, cannibal, because they're in separate universes. And
Yeah, that's what I keep trying to explain to people. Like a lot of filmmakers, they get really caught up in their windows, and I think windowing has its place. But they're like, well, if I'm on Amazon, and like people got to pay to be there, if I put it on YouTube, nobody they won't watch it on Amazon anymore. I'm like,
yeah,
they're different ecosystems.
it's different ecosystems, and there is some, just like 6 years ago, AVOD is bottom of the barrel. YouTube is it's user generated cat video stuff, right? So I'm not going to put my brand associated with that. But just because you put your head in the sand doesn't mean things are going to go away, right? And so because I got in before other people, all of a sudden my stuff looks better, and that's why I've grown so much. But there is an element of I don't want to be, but on YouTube. And again, I had to be convinced myself, but the proof is in the results, right? And so I'm a believer, but I'm a believer also that all these, even the ones that are in the US based primarily, they're very, very separate universes. I mean, I explain it, and people are always concerned about cannibalization and all that. And I used to come from that world, but cannibalization is just a smart person's excuse to say no.
That's totally.
Right.
It's
saying all cannibalization, but
it's a roadblock. You're putting up your own roadblocks.
The way it is I explain it this way. First of all, no one is there's so many movies out there. No one is ever going to be seeing this and that, especially when you're talking about independent and then shopping comparison, right? So that's just out. Number two, there's already too much in this world to be worried about, and no one wants to change their habits, right? So if you're locked in on YouTube, you're locked in on a platform, you're there. That's your go-to. You're not like, is this generic, formulaic movie rom-com going to be different? Therefore, I'm going to watch another platform. You're not. It is in that computer space. There's only a limited number of things that you're going to see, by the way, anyway. Yeah. Right. So it's never a one-to-one comparison, number two. And so the way I get over this cannibalistic, wrong thinking is the analogy of, I got a product that I'm selling in Walmart in LA. I got the same product in Target in Milwaukee. It's not going to impact the sale of one or the other, because I want a hammer. I ain't going to I'm not going to buy the hammer because I saw it 20 cents lower somewhere else. You're just going to buy the darn hammer.
Right.
So when I tell people that, right away they get it, right? So they're separate universes, and there's just so much product out there that there's no comparison shopping, I guess, unless it's there's always exception.
Yeah, always exception. And
these are the universes, right?
I think that thinking came from 10 or 15 years ago. There were a lot less platforms. There were a lot less things. There was Amazon and this, if you were going to do it online. So maybe there was a little more of that. But
you're right. And the whole business on DVD was built on that as price leader. Oh, we got the newest Avenger title, $10 off, and so drive traffic, and that was the spotlight on that particular title that everyone knew about. But when we're talking about the world of independent product, people are like, oh, I'm going to spend $20,000. Like, save your money. $20,000 is going to not spit in the ocean. And by the way, anyone that's saying, hey, I'm going to do a fixed fee for $20,000, that I'm going to deduct from your business because I'm going to marketing. I mean, that's a red flag. It's like, that's just a reason not to pay you that amount of money, by the way, because 30,000 is a drop in the bucket, for crying out loud.
Right.
I mean, speaking real.
Yeah, totally. So let's get back into just distribution. So I assume you get quite a few submissions. What are some of the most common things you see wrong in submissions that filmmakers are doing?
I mean, I think people got a sense from our last video that I just speak as it is, and no longer am I at the major studios where you got to pretend that the emperor, is buck naked, has no clothes, right? So I get solicitations about 5 a day from platforms saying, hey, I got the next I got the Netflix for green people, and I'm on the Roku stick. It's like, so what? And we're gonna do rev share, right?
Right.
Who cares? 100% of nothing is nothing.
Right.
It took 15 years for some of these major AVOD players to get to their 50 million.
Yeah.
It was not an overnight thing. So just because you start your channel and you're on the Roku stick, well, good. You're along with 10,000 other platforms. I'm not going to use my clients' precious titles that they got Aunt Sally and they got their investment bankers to pitch and all that to fund your new channel. So that's on the one unsolicited. I mean, so unsolicited. That's becoming the next stock trade scam. Basically,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
got
Yeah.
I got this. Like, so what? It's I'm
Dude,
not going to use my Mercedes to help you grow your parking lot and not get paid for it for crying out loud, right? So that's kind of that's the number one kind of unsolicited. The number two unsolicited, to answer your question. Sorry, I diverged.
Oh no, that's cool.
It's the same kind of thing. Is, hey, I got this great movie. It's a doc, and it's about this great issue. Docs are a dime a dozen. And truly, to really sell, you got to be above. And same with reality TV, same with stand-up. Unless it's truly something exceptional, it's going to be a tough road. Again, that's why I'm like, in general, I mean, I've probably sold 2 docs, accepted 2 docs in the last couple of years, and they're like over the top. Like one was had Avida King and was about abortion, so it was a very hot topic. And then another one was, I mean, this kid had no arms and no legs, and it's just exceptional. And he playing baseball, and he threw the opening pitch at 10 major league stadiums this past summer. I mean, incredible. I cried when I saw it. Right, so it's got to make me cry. You're basically going to take that.
Right.
Unfortunately, if it's a hot issue, and again, those are the main like red flags. Like, I mean, not red flags, but it's like, you got to prove it to me. This is exceptional. Doc, stand-up reality, period. Right. And then, and drama is just a tough genre unless it's got the stars. Right. So, I mean, those are like the immediate, almost immediate no's. And then you prove to me, like, okay, why should I take a second look? Unfortunately, again, I'm just talking from a straight sales perspective.
Totally.
I sold 3,000 movies over 25 years at the major studios and on indie level now. So I'm done crying about or being moved about a movie. I've cried for a movie and then I couldn't give it away. And then I'm like embarrassed on some movies I'm even selling and
they're making a bunch.
Hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars, right? So it's all about the artwork. It really is about the artwork and who's in it, and then maybe genre, but
Well, what kind of stuff is doing well for you then?
Family and Faith and Black are just like, those are like, okay, I'm gonna lean in. Of course, I'm not gonna take everyone, but that's a lean in versus prove to me like something, and then again, everything's a business decision. Whether you think I think it's going to make money, but yeah, I'm not, because I'm not taking any like marketing fees or social media fees or anything like that. I'm only commission based. So, I'm only going to take something I know it's going to sell, minimum, $20,000, period. Otherwise, it's a waste of everyone's time, so, I mean, that's kind of my benchmark, so I'm thankfully in a position where I can say no. Right. So, it's this is America, and this is the way I do business, and just like everyone's trying to maximize for their family, it's like this is what I do. I mean, I'm not telling anything that I wouldn't tell my mom. You know what I'm saying? It's just so again, I'm not into being a dream killer, but I don't want to be a dream killer. Like, if you want to be told that your movie is the greatest thing under the sun, and you deserve this and this, and you're not going to hear from me. I'm just going to tell you, it's much better to be upfront in the beginning, and versus like 3 years down the road never getting paid, and what's happened to my movie and all that stuff, right? So totally. I'm trying to make it, and that's why my business is based on basically word of mouth. I mean, it's just like, hey, you're not going to get screwed. Just go with John. You're going to get paid. I got the best deal in town. I'll just say it. Right? I'm doing the anti-pitch when people like, I was like, look, you find it, go discover, because I'm not going to ever want to be in a position where, you got a better deal somewhere. I don't want to live with that guilt. I don't need to live with guilt.
Right.
Life is already too hard. I just want to, go out, in the last 20, 30 years, hopefully, just riding high and being clear of clean conscience and doing the right thing and all that. So
Right.
I'm not pitching for business. I'm not, in fact, I actually like catalog business, and I
Mhm.
actually like people. In general, I don't take first time filmmakers. So they don't know what they don't know. And I'd rather deal with someone who has been burned, so they realize, holy crap, this
Yeah, that's
guy's
a great.
me. He's answering my phone call. He's not trying to jam me. He gets approved. He seeks my approval on every step of the way. I don't find my stuff, just it was already pitched here or it's already live here. I have many clients, like, they don't even know where their titles are in the
Yeah.
company. When I try to, like, do some cleanup and all that stuff when they come from other places.
What kind of marketing can filmmakers or should filmmakers expect from smaller distributors?
I don't do marketing, right?
Yep.
And if I had the answer to, like, know exactly how much to spend and what to do with it, I would definitely do it and offer that service.
Mhm.
But because I don't have that knowledge, or I'm not sure anyone does, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
um, I don't do the marketing, and there are certain. I mean, there's so many movies out there. It really is easy to get lost in the clutter.
Yeah.
Really easy, right? So there does need to be marketing.
Mhm.
From what I've seen, and look, Facebook, this or it's still easy to get lost in the clutter, and that's why I actually think, I mean, because of that earlier discussion about separate universes, it's
Mhm.
hard to get someone to see a Facebook ad, go to, and then flip on to another service.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah. Yeah.
in, right? Whereas on the YouTube, so the one thing I will, like, warm up to, as far as someone having an answer, is like, I got a YouTube channel and I'm doing a YouTube search, YouTube around it, like, oh, okay, so there's not much of a stretch to move
Right.
platforms, right? So that makes sense to me,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. I
Of
could see
course,
that.
then it's like, who can execute that right and all that is another thing. It's not me,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So my job is to get you at the platforms of all the existing ones you've heard, but
Mhm.
also ones that you can't or never heard, or the next SVOD that is actually paying for licensing fees.
Right.
That's the only thing I'm going to answer the next call is, like, yeah, you got a great I mean, you got to up the next for green people or whatever, but you got to pay a minimum licensing fee for
Yeah.
you to take my clients. I ain't going to do a rev share with you, right? So I can confidently claim that I've been able to get into the nets to a lot of these unknown Netflixes for green people and give my clients that money. So that's a service and an option that you might not get on an for sure on an automated sales
Yeah. That.
engine,
Right.
right?
That brings me actually to my next question. What do distributors, like a real flesh and blood distributor, what are they doing, or what can they do these days that a place like FilmHub can't do?
Right. So again, I respect what other people are doing out there. We all have our ways of skinning the cat. But my answer to that is, just like every title has a price, and one man's treasure is another person's junk. You can use that same analogy for someone or something that is selling your film, right? So that being said, the analogy that I use is I've had the benefit and the blessing of being able to sell a home, sell my
Mhm.
home a couple times. I always used a real estate agent, right? I use a trustworthy real estate agent that I trust, because I know that they know who the buyers are, what the market is selling. You know, I can't sell it on my own. I don't know the rules. I don't know enough people. I don't know where to market it, all that stuff. Right. So the benefit of having a real estate agent is they have access to buyers, to platforms, to solicitations of the next Netflix platform. So you know that you're being you have more access, right? So that's really what is the best analogy for using a flesh and blood distributor.
Mm.
And yet the housing is even, and then the other distinction between distinction between housing and a movie is that at least on the housing front, you know the comp. So you know like exactly, you know, what the house down the street sold for, because that's public information. Right. So you know that you're not going to get snow like, oh, I can sell this for $5 million. Like, my neighbor just sold it for $1 million. Right. Whereas a movie distributor, all that information is not public. Right. So someone who really knows the going rate, that's incredibly rich information.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So you'll know that you're going to get the best price, because you're going to get the best price. And you also know he has information that you just don't have. Right. So he has access. So he has access to platforms that you don't have. That's why you need a distributor. I mean, some sort of gatekeeper, you know, whether it's automated or flesh and blood. It's more than just putting your house on the internet and selling it. Right. If it was that easy, and you know, if it was that easy, then everyone would be doing it. Right. So there's some value. Of course, you know, then there's a question of, you know, trustworthiness and reputation and all that stuff. But that's just due diligence. You choose your best real estate agent, right? But again, you have that information of like whether you're getting snowed or not, because you know right away the comps. You know whether it was like sold or not, right? So, but in the movie business, it's so opaque, and everyone lies. You know, filmmakers. Let's just be real.
Yeah.
And then, oh, really? Let me see your statement, and then all of a sudden it's like, you know, silence, right? Among filmmakers and among distributors, right? So that's why it's ultra even more important actually to have a good one that you can trust. I mean, it's like a plumber. You don't want anyone off the street. You need a good plumber. You need a good real estate agent. You need a good movie distributor.
Yeah.
And when you know, again, it's your expectation, and you know, versus and what you want. So that's important. I mean, if you're happy, you know, whatever you're doing, this is America. You do whatever you want. But this is what I would tell my son, you know, or a friend, you know, the real of hey, John, you know, should I do, you know, sell my movie through a distributor? I said, yeah, but just like you sell your house, you better go with this real estate agent because they're good. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, totally. So why is it so difficult these days to set like a release date? You know, or is that something that's difficult for you?
You know, these platforms, they're dealing with, you know, thousands of movies, you know, so to have to like answer to everyone like and promise a street date, you're just asking yourself to be like to make a promise that you can't keep. And plus you got QC involved. That's why there's these ranges of, you know, QC, you know, 4 weeks. Believe me, if they know it's a hot title, it's going to be less than 4 weeks, right? Yep. So I've gotten titles that are like, my Tim Allen movie got put up in, you know, in like 7 days after, never released Tim Allen movie, and it got put up in like 3 days, I think, right? Whereas, you know, I got some TV shows, you know, QC issues. I mean, it could be months for crying out loud. Yep. But it's all in the queue of where your title stands in the queue. And you know what? I'm sorry, but major studio stuff is in general a lot better than the indie stuff. So they're going to be in the queue higher.
Yeah.
Right? So, you know, no one wants to like promise something that they can't make. And so, you know, I get this all the time. I'm going to do a marketing campaign. Tell me this free thing. It's like, you know what? Your little $200 Facebook campaign is not stick up to, you know, $50 million range. I'm sorry. Again, I'm just telling the real.
No, you're right. Yeah,
it is what it is. And you know, I'm not this crass or whatever to a client.
Right.
You know, they're a client, and you know, believe me, customer service is my thing. You know, that's why I have 100% retention for crowd. But it's an unrealistic expectation for a filmmaker to say, hey, I'm doing this marketing campaign to get someone to tell me the street date. It's
Yeah,
like, yeah, that and a, you know, I'm sorry, but there's a lot of other people and a lot of other titles that just stack up on a pure objective, you know,
yeah,
ranking. Like, so and they can't even make the date sometimes, right?
totally. You know, the thing is, like, I say this, from a filmmaker's perspective, like I totally 100% understand that from doing this channel and talking to distributors and platforms. I totally get it. But what irritates me, it's not the platforms and it's not the distributors. It's not the fact that it is hard for me to set a release date. What irritates me is when I go to get press, I can't get like indie press to cover a movie without the release date. And I was like, guys, nobody's getting them. Like, change with the times. Like, you got this rinky-dink like horror site, and they won't do a review without a set release date. I'm like, who the has a set release date at that level?
It's true. I mean,
Yeah. Sorry, that was my little rant.
no. That's the problem, right? That's the problem. Is everyone has a little bit competing objectives.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, that's not reality. Of like, of course, you can't write an article if you don't know where it's going to be and when. So
right. I know that does make it difficult. And what I was telling a writer the other day, I was like, well, like they refuse to do reviews after a movie's been released, and I'm like, like that does nothing for you. It does nothing for the movie. Like that's just not how it works anymore.
Well, maybe that's why they're still rinky dink.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
I mean,
yeah.
if one thing proves, in this business is you got to adapt and you got to find the next thing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because it's not going to be the same.
Right.
And no one has figured it out like from the top.
Mm.
Oh, that's all there's just Avengers 10, and that's why there's layoffs. That's the only answer. And that's the only answer. And you wonder why, there's no creativity, because no one wants to get fired. There's no and take that risk of doing something new. I mean, it's ironic that it's people are getting fired because they didn't take that risk, right? But then there ain't no future if there's no present, right? So you're not going to get fired by greenlighting, Avengers 20, but you're going to get fired if you put, who's a knucklehead that put, this new franchise, new whatever, and it failed, right? So there's from the top, there's no risk taking, and that just goes to the bottom. I mean, so I mean, it's just a mess. I mean, nobody has the answer, really.
Yeah.
Really. All you can do is adapt and figure out your space.
Yeah.
Not deviate, because then you're going to get your, you should find your success point. Then you don't want to like all of a sudden expand, because then you're in an area, it's already hard enough for experts, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So to take, to try to expand, I mean, that's not a number one, but a main reason why a lot of businesses fail. Right. Yeah. I mean, but it's ironic that, if they don't take the chance, then they fail anyway. So, I mean, 22 all over the place.
Kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't.
I mean, this whole business is based on educated guesses, but no one has the answer. But it's an easier bet on Avengers 11 versus something new. Or it's an easier bet. You're not going to get fired if, the next best thing, which is, 20 million books sold. At least you have an installed base, right? Yeah. Create something new. Well, that's risky. I don't want to do that. I want to be the fourth studio doing it, so I don't get fired. And that's the mentality then that is going to lose, but at least it's not going to lose like right away, like today.
Right. So one way that a few smaller distributors that I've talked to kind of get around this, they will do a really small, like a small theater. They'll do like a small, like couple of day run in like LA or something, and like, call that their release, get a couple of reviews to try to help drive VOD sales. Like, do you like, is that something you've ever experimented with, or like what's your opinion?
I know my lane, and my lane is not to do theatrical.
Okay.
And there was a trick that everyone played, and it got played out, of opening up 10 markets to get in the, the categorization of theatrical new release and getting better placement and all that. But, if it's not a sellable movie, it's not going to be then a sellable movie, because you did these tricks of,
right.
And
Right, right, right.
right, so it's a long-term play, and what sells is going to sell not regardless, but it's much better chance, right? So it's just like this whole fast channel thing, right? That's the newest. Everyone's trying to find an answer, and so when they got something to write about, then it's so now it's the fast channel thing.
Right. And for people that don't know, for people that don't know, what is a fast channel?
So fast channel is just it's a uh, uh, linear playback of similar genre, right? So the cooking channel. So it's only got cooking.
Gotcha.
It's got 100, 24/7 cooking channel. So you got cooking movies, cooking tips, all that stuff. And in theory, it sounds good. Oh, for advertisers, you can charge a higher CPM because this is more than lifestyle. This is lifestyle. This is not demographics. These are educated cooking people.
It's targeted.
Yeah. So it sounds good. I'll pay more for that because I know it's targeted and all that. And it's a flavor of the day where you see all the variety magazine, okay, there you go on fast channels, right? Or before it was streaming. Before that it was 3D. Before that was HD. DVD. So the only one that's really taken off was a DVD. So everyone's really trying to find that next thing that's truly TV. But from the press you would never know. Like for example, like when everyone was talking about streaming, even streaming at the time when there was like writing, it was like the next greatest thing. It was like 10% of the total sales for crying out loud. But it was the newest thing, so everyone wanted to write about it. So now the newest thing is fast channel. My point is, if you have one crappy movie that no one wants to watch, putting 500 crappy movies together ain't gonna make them more watchable. You make them. The only people that are making money on the fast channels outside of the bonanzas are the people that are charging $30,000 to make that capability of having a fast channel. Right?
Right.
So one. I mean, that's again, as far as like business to business selling, it's a classic bundling, and bundling is happening in cable. Like yeah, you can have my hot date. You can go out with my hot date on a hot date with my friend, but you got to also take her ugly sisters.
Right.
So as a business like selling strategy, yeah, it's a good idea. But at the end of the day, at the end consumer level, people only want to date the hot one. They don't want to date the ugly sisters. Again, I'm sorry for being sexist. My wife is gonna. Sorry, PC police. Again, I don't have PC.
Man, you're gonna get me canceled, man.
I'm not at a company. I don't care about HR anymore. But that's just and by the way, that's why there's problems with cord cutting. You got ESPN, but then you needed all of these needless channels to come along for the ride. That got paid because of that ride, but people don't want to watch those crappy channels. Yeah. They just want to watch ESPN. Right. So that is what's going to be the death of fast channels a couple years from now, when all of a sudden people realize, oh, this was just like 3D. There's nothing there.
Right.
Except the bonanza all season one. I mean, that's all things bonanza. And by the way, the quality is there. And for those people, I mean, they want to watch it. Again, I'm using a generic example, totally. But that is the problem with all this fast channel pop, right? So what if you have 500 channels or 500 movies on a channel? It's like people will even want to watch it. It's a whole other thing. And by the way, again, when I speak at panels and everything, I'm talking about stuff that people don't want to hear.
I know, man. Filmmakers just don't want to hear.
But it's like, this is why I'm free. I get just call it like I see it. Work with people I want to work with, and not have to lie. Because it is a lie to say, oh yeah, fast channels are great.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? If Bonanza, I'll take that all day. I would. Yeah. But like here, to wrap up a fast channel on just generic crappy movies, are you kidding me?
Right.
It ain't gonna sell. At the end of the day, it all is about what sells at the consumer level, not at all of the press level and people that if they drank this Kool-Aid, they wouldn't be working. So, but you're fighting gravity is the problem. is you're fighting gravity by offering up an SVOD service, for example. People want it for free, right? I mean, the bigger pool of people, when you look at the market share of people at ad free versus no ads, I mean, it's already been proven. You look at Hulu, 70% of the market is the ad free, the ad version versus the ad free version, right? That's a live test market. And
I do ads.
Netflix, when they do it, when they have this advert, it's going to be a bigger pool because more people are used to being, and they don't have the money for crying out loud. They don't want to have $100 worth of SPOS versus, right? So so as a pool, right now you have your 2 or 3 SVOD service and you supplement it with your AVOD, but as the quality gets better of the ad and of the ad free stuff, as it is, like it's improved 100% in just 2 years or a year, right? I mean, it used to take 30 years for a major studio title, to come out, and now it's like 10 years, or 5 years even, right? Or even 2 years depending on the level.
Totally.
So things change, but yeah, just because it makes sense on a PowerPoint presentation, that doesn't mean it's going to come to fruition.
Right.
By the way, think about it. Every bomb, crappy movie was a hit when it got greenlit and invested in.
Right. Yeah, it was a hit till it came out.
There you go. So I mean, everything was a hit. Everything was a hit. But you know what? Just like marriage is like 60% get divorced. No one's like going up the altar like, hey, I'm gonna get divorced. But 60% are going down. Right. And I don't know the exact statistics for movies, but again, and it's pretty tough.
It's got to be higher than 60.
No movie was greenlit. No one asked Aunt Sally for their money, and Aunt Sally didn't give her the money if she thought it was a crappy movie that it was going to tank.
Right.
The hard facts are what they are. It's just it's a tough business. It's much easier on my side of the fence because I'm selling lottery tickets.
Right. And you have the numbers.
And you have the numbers. So you have more numbers. The more lottery tickets you buy, or the better chance of getting that lottery. Right. But when you got an independent filmmaker who's got one movie, what are the odds?
Right.
It's hard.
That brings up a really good point. That's my next question. So do you think for filmmakers, especially today, and maybe it always was, but do you think that the film business for filmmakers, it is a numbers game? Like you can't just make your one movie and expect that to do it for you.
The other analogy I use, and again, filmmakers don't want to hear this, but it's only with film that everybody has a certain non-critical brain thinking, is a sports analogy, right? Most of those, and I mean, all the NBA players, they didn't just the first time they picked up the basketball, they had landed up in the NBA. It was a process. They had to go JV, then they went varsity, then they went college, and then they got drafted, or even maybe of course there's a LeBron or whatever skips college, whatever. Well, the thing about sports is you have it's pretty objective. You have a winning record, you have a time, you there's a score. Yeah. Whereas filmmaking, there is no score. It's objective. You got the look. This is a great movie. Someone's great movie is another person's trash, right? How many people think some of these Academy Awards are awful?
Yeah.
Right. So it's completely subjective, and because it's so brought into our mainstream culture, everyone watches a movie, so everyone's got an opinion, right? And so everyone thinks, oh, I saw this. My movie is so much better than that crappy movie I saw on Netflix. Therefore, Netflix should. And I saw the headline that they're spending $21 billion. Get me on Netflix. Right. It's like, oh, if I shot the winning basket at the Y, that doesn't make me go to the next level. Or I'm even a better free throw than LeBron. I mean, not LeBron, than Shaq. Right. I can shoot more free throw percentage more than Shaq. Does that get me in the NBA? Are you kidding? No. But filmmaker, they had to fight tooth and nail. They gave their left testicle or whatever to get that money and the funding. I mean, God bless that determination, that skill, the desire, but unfortunately, Joe consumer could care less. They just want to be entertained, right? They don't know what you took, and you told them, like, they still wouldn't watch a movie free. I mean, they still wouldn't watch it, right? And the ironic thing is, even like people in the business, you know, who want to support the fight for indie filmmakers and all that stuff, they watch for movies for free. They're not renting on iTunes. They're not doing that, supporting the brotherhood and all that stuff. So if they're so invested, how is a consumer who has access to 50,000 movies, you know, gonna choose a movie? It's just entertaining. And this is a reason why it's foolhardy for people to, you know, just look at the headlines, because they don't. I mean, headlines are headlines, and I like reading about the NBA, but that doesn't mean I'm going to be in the NBA, for crying out loud. I can read about Disney and Netflix and all that, and it's entertaining and it's newsworthy, but that doesn't automatically make me, you know, in that same world.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's just for film, because it's so like objective, you know, people just assume stuff, right? But filmmaking, as you know better than me, because I am not a filmmaker, I'm a salesperson through and through, as you can tell. Just because you get better and better as you make more and more films, just as you get practice and you better in sports. So why would it, just because it's your first movie, like, it should be in the NBA?
Yeah.
When I talk about it like this, then all of a sudden it's like, oh my gosh, yeah. Then all of a sudden you put your brain on it, but and that's why, like, you know, Weinstein scandals happen. It's like, how do you grade that? You got the look. Or you got the look when, you know, when I'm sleeping with you.
Right.
It's just so subjective, right? Totally. There's no objective scores, and even like IMDb and all that, it's just people throwing out a number. It's like, who cares if you got a 9 out of 10 IMDb star ranking? Who cares? You know what I'm saying? Okay, some people are, you know, just like reviews, like, oh, got a great review, therefore it's going to be a great movie. No, not at all. It's so up and down, across the board.
Yeah, no, I mean, filmmakers for years, you know, we've been sold the fairy tale. You know, we've been sold the Quentin Tarantino in the video store, and, you know, Kevin Smith and his $15,000, and Robert Rodriguez and his 7. And those are over 30 years ago, and we're still holding on to those stories. Like, this is how it is, and it's just.
I mean, who knows? I mean, you're right. That's what I'm saying. It's like using the lottery as an analogy. It's like for every one of those, there are how many thousands of people wanted these.
Yeah.
And with the internet, and, you know, it's just everyone can make a film now.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Right? It's gotten so cheap.
Not everyone can play sport, but
yeah. Any monkey. I
mean, again, I'm not a doctor, no. So, you know, that's why I don't like to do a film. They don't want to hear this, but, you know, thank God that's how innovation happens. It's like, screw it. Because of that dream making, that's how you have the next innovation. Yeah. You're not thinking about, like, I mean, if you're totally analytical, that you wouldn't do this business, for crying out loud. You wouldn't do it. The odds are so against you, right? But you know, thank God for dreamers. Thank God for creative people. Thank God for risk takers, because that's what makes the world great, right? 100%. It's just, you know, when it comes to like investing money, and, you know, and like, I don't want to lose money. I wouldn't do it. But that's me.
Yeah. So do you think, you know, because it's gotten so cheap to make movies, and there's so many more platforms, it's so easy to get on platforms now. Like, do you think just just the great volume of films, is it hurting the industry?
I think so. You know, I mean, again, it's oversaturation, right? I mean, it's easy to kill a golden goose, right? And when theatrical business, I mean, how many crappy movies are out there? It's like, after so many crappy movies, you ain't going to the movie theater anymore. Right? So yeah, I mean, there's never a saturation of good quality stuff. Right. Never. I mean, there's a dearth of that. But again, good quality is completely different from yours. In theory, this whole business is very easy, right? Mm-hmm. It's just like the catch-all. You know, you hear from someone who's very successful, and they said, just come up with a good story. Like, what does a good story mean? right?
Right.
And
Yeah.
everything looks good on paper. That's why it got greenlit. And everything looks educated. Oh, you got 20 million books sold. You have this install base. You have this star in there, and it fails,
Yeah.
right? So you have those odds, and then you're telling me you have no book sales, you have no star, you're in a genre that doesn't perform. I mean, that's right away you just like increased your odds of success. I mean, decrease your odds for success.
Mm.
You can still break through, but all of a sudden, instead of 1 out of 100, now it's 1 out of 500, right?
Right.
There's still going to be one that wins, but so there's only 24 hours in a day, and the more options that consumers have, be it just movies, be it Instagram, be it video games, be it pickleball, it's hard to like cut through the clutter. Of course, if it's going to be like just a tremendous like movie that has, that'll rise to the top. But more choices equal, and there's more choices, platform wise. So that was another, but again, the mistake is that that platforms make, and I see it a lot because I've seen a lot of platforms go out of business, right? And I have friends that is like, hey, I got a couple $1 million. I'm going to create the next platform for, for green people. But, just in like odds basis, if Verizon can spend $2 billion, and then go away with Go90, that was their SVOD platform, $2 billion, and no one even knows about it.
Right.
Or YouTube can spend $5 billion to, and 6 years to try to create a, YouTube Red where people pay for it, and create content. And then when they finally get it with Cobra Kai, the mega cooler, mega hit, and the great series that is, and then they just do the math and realize, holy crap, we should just make it for free. I mean, or just sell it to other platforms.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, those are gargantuan odds if you really think about it. Multi-billions of spent, just in those two examples, $8 billion, $7 to $8 billion spent. So yeah, you telling me that my $200,000 movie is even like in the stratosphere of that, or my platform, is that I'm spending $5 million, and it seems like, I mean, $5 million is a lot to me, but that's a drop in the bucket to what the market has shown is not going to work. I mean, there's going to be a lottery winner, but the odds are tough. The odds are stacked, right? So back to your other question of like film. So just knowing, and if you're like, despite the odds, and you love it and you want it, and have at it, you can tell your story, and be in love with it, or you can, go along that commercial line of complete creativity, complete, a little bit down there. Everyone has to face that balance, of a commercial versus kind of ownership and all that stuff. You can hedge your bet a little bit by at least, going with a star power driven vehicle, going with a action, or action versus a talkie drama, or documentary, which is not, what I'm saying. So you can try to hedge your bet and increase your odds, and that's how you increase your odds. But it's still a difficult proposition. But also you have to manage your expectations. So if your expectation is Netflix and this thing versus I want to make my money back, or over time, then all of a sudden it becomes more reasonable and more achievable. Right. But it's you got to put your brain on and be smart about the whole process. But shooting in the air and hoping you hit the target. I mean, you might hit the target, but at least you can like dial it down a little bit, and that's all we can do. Right.
Awesome. Well, John, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me. I'm gonna stick your website down in the description for people. And thanks again.
If I apologize, I apologize if I've offended anybody. Okay.